Ah, the end of the 20th century. Back when pop culture was at its height, people had a fashion sense, and social media didn't ruin basic social interactions yet. Films, music, and other forms of entertainment were made by those with a love of creation and who were willing to spend hours on end slaving away to get their work out into the world. It wasn't as corporatized and watered down as the majority of what we see in cinemas today. Films focused solely on telling great stories with relatable and complex characters. Creatives aim to inspire people and bring out the childlike nature that we all hold deep within. There was genuine imagination and quality in just about everything that reached the big screen, and with every experience, people left the theater moved and excited for what was to come next. Looking at it all after the fact, it wasn't perfect, but it all had passion and meaning put into it. Nowadays, it's rare to see ingenuity and imagination in movies, which are mostly just builds shoveled up by a creative team with a focus on profit over entertainment. The focus has moved away from creating the best possible experience and is now on getting as many people to buy as possible. And you know the best way to ensure that people buy? Well, of course, it's to make more of what already worked in the past. Thus, the so called creatives bring up an old classic and do what I can only describe as blindly swinging a baseball bat at it like a pinata in hopes that something shiny will fall out of it. And after you realize this, looking at the last 2 decades feels like getting slammed by a corporate freight train of safe and lazy retellings of popular stories. Star Wars The Force Awakens, Ghostbusters 2016, and Jurassic World are near carbon copies of their original films, changing some aspects but keeping to the same overall frame of the story because it already worked before. The story still follows a MacGuffin and a droid being brought to the Rebel Alliance. Oh, sorry. Did I say Rebel Alliance? I meant the Resistance, because it's original. The villain of the story is still a dark figure in a mask, but get it, guys, this time he has a cooler lightsaber because it's original. The good guys need to destroy a massive superweapon, but this time it can destroy entire galaxies in one shot because it's much more powerful and the stakes have to be higher, and also it needs to be different and original. Ghostbusters 2016 replaced all the original cast with women and made jokes so atrocious that the film being marked as a comedy feels like a joke within itself.
Don't move! You gotta,
No, I'm tired.
No, listen.
I'm just gonna go ahead and take off. How about that?
I don't really think that's a good idea.
No. Going to take off. Don't piss off the ghost. Really?
Jurassic World rebranded the park, but kept pretty much everything else. These films were made to pull on everyone's nostalgia for what they already love, and give them something that somewhat resembles it without making anything truly new. But sadly, this is just the beginning, because if there's one word that makes me want to violently bang my head against a wall every time I hear it, it's remake. When a company runs itself completely creatively bankrupt, they pull out a movie they did years ago that was very successful and milk it even further. The Lion King, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Karate Kid, Footloose, The Little Mermaid, Jungle Book, The Mummy, and dozens more. And whether the remake turns out good or not, the idea always comes up because it's a safe bet people will see on name recognition alone. And with all of the popular remakes that are being done, if you really think about it, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is arguably one of the greatest cinematic achievements ever, is built up of characters and stories that were written decades ago. The Infinity War comic series released in 1992, and the Secret Wars comics released in 1984, and we all know that Secret Wars is about to happen. Now, all of this boils down to one simple point. There's a very obvious deficit in creativity in all the films being pumped out, and nobody is able to come up with new ideas, and the industry as a whole is dying because of it. The people have been let down enough times to the point where massive box office drawing brands aren't bringing in audiences like they used to. And at the same time, studios don't want to throw down millions of dollars on an original idea that isn't a guaranteed success. So what do? Well, they continue to milk their dying brands, releasing rush products with no real quality or substance, blindly throwing darts at a dartboard hoping one eventually hits. It's an endless cycle where nobody wins and everyone loses. Audiences get shitty cookie cutter films that don't entertain or inspire in the ways that they used to, and studios don't get any money, which only causes the cycle to continue. It sucks, and there's really no way out of it that makes everyone happy. The best course of action would be for the studios to minimize total productions, putting more time and emphasis on films with more overall interest and potential. But the problem is that one likely success isn't as rewarding as the prospect of releasing a dozen films every year that all make millions of dollars. Except it never works out that way, and the collective losses drag down the profits of their big budget guaranteed successes. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker barely broke even. Lightyear had a production budget of $200 million and only made $267 million. And after accounting for promotion and marketing costs, the movie lost an estimated $106 million. And to top it all off, Turning Red lost an estimated $106 million. By now you probably get my point, but my friends, it gets much more embarrassing than that. In 2022, Disney lost a total of $123 billion. And despite the amount of zeros at the end of that number, I'd like to point out that this is also taking into account the parks and merchandise sales, but it still lends to the fact that people are losing interest in big brands. Marvel is a joke now. Star Wars has fallen off the pedestal it once had. Pixar can't seem to get a win, and since overall interest in all of these brands is down, nobody is subscribing to Disney+. But don't worry, ladies and gents. You can subscribe to my channel. It's completely free, and if you like the video, then it'll get recommended to more people. Also, while you're at it, hit the bell to get notified whenever I upload. Now that's a cycle that I can get behind. I will be delving more into the film genre on my channel from here on since it interests me, and I have a lot to say about it. And with that, see ya.